I thought I'd lock in our profit yesterday rather than throw it away on the 8 o'clocks. I do prefer domestic league football to Europa League, Champions League at Hull, but we got away with it last night. Particularly, we went match odds. Get out there with Fiorentina. It did turn into a 2-2 after they got the winner. So cashing out, you're always guaranteed a return, and anything that happens after you've cashed out, who cares? You're locked in. So that was a good one. If you went +1 as well, you'd have made a decent enough return. +1 covers the draw. Simple as that. It's the equivalent of laying St. Gallen, Fiorentina +1. It's what I like to use. And of course, we used our secret sauce insurance for members only, unless you've sussed it out, having watched these videos each day. So always covered. Qarabag and Ajax, yeah, got involved in a half-time market there. Didn't get that to you quickly enough. What I'm looking for here is to light up the 0-2. This was because of a Qarabag red card. And my stakes, of course, Damien from the Omen stakes. Lucifer stakes. £16.67 for that 0-1 before half-time. And sod's law, really. As soon as I send it to you, they go and score the goal. In hindsight, I suppose a verbal message would have been better to get it to you quicker. But that was good. PAOK and Poulsen. Yeah, this was a goal away from a £100 payout. What I saw here with PAOK and Poulsen, and we can have a look at yesterday's match at Soccer 24. Why did I alert to this particular match? And indeed, there were a couple of others last night. It will be interesting once I go through yesterday's results. Some of the matches I didn't keep a tab on. But looking at PAOK, I wonder if you can suss this one out. What can you see here? This is why I advocate using soccer24.com. You've always got the pre-match odds, which you need as a reference point when you're trading. This is my reference point. I'm expecting Roma to win and win comfortably. That's not quite in keeping with that. You could arguably have laid Roma late on. Similar story with Frankfurt. We could have laid the draw second half here, because I did entertain a first half goals play, but they just didn't cross the line. Did get the single goal. And this is what we were talking about the day before. Not quite getting these odds on favourites right, are they? That's suggesting 3+ goals. So the market's not quite getting it right. Another odds on failing to win. But a couple of them did yesterday, so a little better. That was my Poulsen play. From 0-2 to 2-2, red card really helped. 1 goal away from a £100+ payout. And we still got away with it with a profit. It's a marginal profit on the draw. As you know, I like to put these small profits on the draw to keep you entertained or to stay in for that bigger profit on PAOK. Let's have a look at some of the other matches yesterday, which I didn't quite get involved with. I thought we did well to come out of this with a profit. Anderlecht could have laid the draw second half, but I wasn't seeing the in-play stats. But the red card was certainly in play, and red cards are angles, aren't they? Chao Vidal, great name for a football player. And Rick, the mighty Rick. I want to get his shirt. Rick and Fred, and of course Chao Vidal. I've got to get some of these Ludogorets shirts, I think. Great names. Eric Marcus, fantastic bloke. And Rawan Sacco, the mighty Rawan Sacco. So this was Anderlecht. Red card, 30th minute. They took a while. I just wasn't feeling it. And it looked as if it was a substitution that was required to get the opening goal. So there was other profits to be had, particularly from a red card perspective. We got involved before the Poulsen red card there. So lots of red cards involved yesterday. Porto 1.5, I would have expected goals. We didn't see any in the first half, which is most un-Hoff-like. So, as I say, you could have laid the draw second half if the draw odd was short enough. We had a couple of problems yesterday. Short odds favourites did get the goal eventually, like Frankfurt, but the draw odds were far too high. But arguably, you take it on a case-by-case basis. You're looking at the trade out. So if you're laying the draw at 4s, if you can cash out at 8s or 9s after a single goal, that's fine. This was coming from the special one. 4 shots on, 5 off on a corner. It was coming, but I can't trust Manchester United matches. That really was coming from El Nesri. In-play stats were emphatic for the special one. He had Man United, that's for sure. It looked far better than this in my stats feed. Really indicative. Look at this, one-way traffic. It's probably a similar story. Well, Man United, suddenly second half. But we did get the first half with the equaliser. Could have played that if you were in a frivolous mood yesterday. But playing Manchester United games just ends up in a whole heap of bother. Lyon deserved to get something out of this match. This could have been an insurance play yesterday. So we could have got stuck in with a few more, but I'm happy to take something like a 50 quid profit out of the session yesterday for the stakes used. I'm delighted with that. Well done to Rangers, having an awful season, but bringing it home at those odds. And Tottenham and AZ, again, I wasn't feeling the goal. When you've got an Eredivisie side and a Premier League side chock full of goals, then you're expecting more than a Richarlison penalty. So this is the problem with Europe. I suspect Ange Postecoglou would have made changes to the first 11 necessarily as well. So that's what we were fighting yesterday. So I'm happy to come out of that with a 50 odd quid profit. Could have been 150 had we got that third PAOK goal. Looking at the Conference League, not much interested me yesterday, but the market getting Shamrock Rovers way out of kilter there. In hindsight, Northern Ireland versus the Irish Premier Division, that was an absolute gift. A bit like the Everton odds against Luton the other day. Jagiellonia could have laid the draw second half. Again, these are some of the matches I left alone. We had that in the first match as well with Guimarães. Earlier on with Guimarães, who have been absolutely chock full of goals in this competition. Could have laid that draw second half. But it only takes one of these not to come in, and that's your profit for the day done. So I was far happier coming out of this with a decent return rather than risking it and looking for a second half goal. And we've been kicked in a behind before, waiting for that second half goal, despite the stats being strong in Europe. So that was always in the back of my mind. We came out of it unscathed yesterday. Delighted with the profit. On to today, Leicester and Nottingham Forest, and already we've got the Derby-style element into this. I would be favouring Nottingham Forest here on their defence. I think they can keep Leicester City to a single goal, but we've got the Derby-style element to throw into the mix, and that suggests it could be a wide-open affair, as indeed does the market. But for me, on recent form, Nottingham Forest defence is an absolute standout. My concern is their over-reliance on Chris Wood scoring. If Leicester can keep Chris Woods quiet, then Nottingham Forest is going to be in a whole heap of trouble. But you can see the strong unders bias. I wouldn't be doing 2.5 goals here. Very strong unders bias. Take out the cup. Very strong unders bias in the Premier League, apart from the Brighton match. So bear that in mind. Leicester, vulnerable is how I would describe Leicester. But you can see the Derby-style element. They're kind of sharing the results recently. But Nottingham Forest, I think, under Nuno Espirito de Santo, far more accomplished defensively. But they need a Wonyi to start scoring, because an over-reliance on Chris Wood, if he gets injured, and a Wonyi's only getting the last 20 minutes of matches because he's in such good form, then that is the Achilles heel for Nottingham Forest. Got to keep Chris Wood fit. There he is again, scoring. And I think against Brighton, did he get the goal? Yeah, Chris Wood penalty. And Sosa getting the second. So we're not seeing any real action from a Wonyi, and that could be a concern. But I would be solidly with Nottingham Forest defence here today, but I would acknowledge the pre-match odds are suggesting it's too tough to call. Rennes and Le Havre. See my French accent there. Bonjour, Rodders. A bonnet de douche. A bonnet de douche. The odds look about right here. If you want to go old school, because I'm using the new form of research now, which is a lot quicker for me. Used to take me about 5 or 6 minutes each match to properly research, and this is where I properly researched. It would be at soccerstats.com. So I can take you through this match, and we can decide whether you agree with the market. That's the key we have to make. That's why I use Soccer 24, as I alluded to before. We need this initial key element, because that's telling us that we're expecting of the home side. So if Le Havre score first, Le Havre might have enjoyed playing Rennes in the past. That's why we do a little bit of research. Look at recent form. Looks like Le Havre, newly promoted a couple of seasons ago, are struggling this season. They've failed to score in 4 of the last 5, which is a good sign. If they score first today, with Rennes, both teams have scored in 6 of the last 7. We're expecting an equaliser from Rennes. So automatically now you've got that 1.5 home favourite. You've got an element of confidence based on Le Havre being poor. They've conceded in the last 6. Rennes have scored in the last 8, scored and conceded in the last 4 as well. You can have a look at the challenge table where these two are relative to each other, and they're both struggling. But Rennes, unbeaten against 5th and lower, have 3 goals in the bag when they need it. But Le Havre are struggling to score that second goal. So that looks good, doesn't it? Ideally, in an ideal world, every single bit of research I do would be based on soccerstats.com. But my new form of research is working very well. It's highlighting, and the great thing about it, I'm not a slave to the computer doing this hour after hour after hour for you. You still end up with very good research as well. Mainz and Mönchengladbach. This is a tough one for me to call, so I would default to the market. But what we can do on this Friday is, again, have a look. You can see how quick it takes to research. And don't forget, you can also, your conclusions can also be, I don't like to trade this match, I don't get any strong angles here, or I don't agree with the market, etc. So Mainz have only won away from home this season. They're on 3 consecutive home defeats, but that's a pity. I was going to say, look who they've been beat, but Leipzig. Both teams to score started off the season strongly, but failing to score in 2 of the last 3 Mainz at home. As favourite today, it's very poor indeed. What you'll note with Mönchengladbach, no draw, so you could lay any late draw. They're on a 2-match losing run. That's a bit of a shock result, but not so Frankfurt, who are involved in Europe, and losing to Leverkusen. Those are 2 noteworthy Champions League side, and I think Champions League side or Europa League side. So take away Augsburg, and Mönchengladbach are losing to some pretty good sides, solid yardsticks. But this looks a messy match for me. It's not one I would prioritise. All I would take out of this is the no draw element. You've noticed Mainz, teams above them in the league, they've failed to beat. They've only beaten 2 of the early season bottom 4 away from home. So it doesn't look very good for them. But Mönchengladbach has very little to offer. Form lines are completely muddled. So bear that in mind playing this one. No good conclusions for me, apart from Mönchengladbach not having a draw this season. You might want to lay any late draw. Udinese and Cagliari. I'll be subtly favouring Udinese again, just for today. We can go old school, girlfriend. But footballtradingprofits.com members, you're going to get all of the in-depth research for you, as well as the 2.5 goal angles. So Udinese and Cagliari. If you get used to doing research like this, you'll get to know the teams very well. We noticed last season, for example, Udinese loved a draw. Did they love a draw this season? An obvious avoidance of the draw this season. The managers had enough of those effing draws. And look who they're losing to. Some really solid yardsticks, albeit new manager for Roma. Inter Milan, champions last season. AC Milan in the Champions League, only just losing by a single goal to the Milanese sides. This might have been a red card affected match, but a second goal was a penalty, so that might have knocked the stuffing out of them. But they've been pretty solid, far better this season, and avoiding the draws most importantly. They couldn't avoid draws last season. Cagliari started beating Parma, who are newly promoted. Torino, a 3-2. Took an own goal to get the winner there. I'm not convinced. So I would be subtly with Udinese here. Not to lose, perhaps. They're only losing against big guns, as you'll see in the challenge table. This starts coming alive about November time. You can see we're starting to flesh out the challenge table, and you're starting to see patterns emerging. Where before we had these score draws, I think they had score draws against all teams 11th and lower last season for a vast proportion. Now they're holding firm at the back, turning those 1-0s into wins. So that could be a pattern against strugglers like Cagliari. A lockout, keep Cagliari to a single goal perhaps. But there's not a big sample of matches there. So I would be favouring Udinese here, but I would be flexible enough to say 2.2 the favourite suggests Cagliari are given a shout here. Torino and Como, newly promoted automatically, has you eyeing Torino. But why? Are Torino's odds 2.55? Suspicious. Automatically, you'd be thinking we've got to avoid these newly promoted sides, or at least target them, particularly away from home against an established Serie A side. So the odds, 2.55 the favourite. The market, I defer to them. They might know something I don't. But on paper, 3 consecutive defeats is probably has the market panicking a little, but they've all been 1 goal in it. Lazio have had an exceptional season so far. Inter Milan, champions from last season. Cagliari, and again, going down via an own goal. So no panic stations for me at all. I still would favour Torino. Look who they've lost to, and take that away. That was Torino scoring the goal which saw them lose. Okay. What we've also got here recently, if you see those patterns continuing, is goals before half time. And we saw that win against Hellas Verona, Venezia, newly promoted, getting the win there. So suggesting that they could get the better. Como, well, against Bologna, newly European side Bologna, European side Atalanta as well. So again, a late penalty from Lookman for Como. Got them a very, very lucky winner there. Oh no, they were 1-3 up. Sorry, I thought this went from 2-2 to 2-3. 1-1, 1-2, 1-3. Oh, a late Lookman penalty, yes, for Atalanta, indeed. I thought that was Como. So a good win. And a good win against Hellas Verona. 2-3 with Torino. So that's probably why you've got the 2.55, the favourite. We've had a number of 2-3s. You might want to even start at that today. And if you're going to expect this scoreline, you're going to expect a goal at least before half-time, which has happened in every single Como match. This is certainly one match I would target if it's 0-0 at half-time, back over 1.5 goals at evens or higher. Those of you wanting a bit of Friday fun, back 2-3, 3-2 pre-match. But now you can see why it's 2.55 the favourite. But for me, I subtly favour Torino here, based on the fact this is a very solid side. The likes of Juve, similar, that 3-0 loss. Inter Milan, champions. Napoli, 3-goal conceded. So I think we could see 3 goals from Torino today. This could be a redemption match, but do bear that in mind. Almeria and NEC, not going to touch that one. Espanyol and Sevilla, 2.4 the favourite. Again, it's a tough market. So it's your typical Friday affair. We're going to go to Spain, which is ES, not SE. We're going to have another old school look at this match via Soccer Stats. See, just forget the odds. Okay. See what kind of a conclusion you come to and whether you agree with the market afterwards. So this one, only the 1 draw all season for Espanyol, so you might want to lay any late draw. Both sides have had a single 0-0 all season, so you might want to lay any late 0-0. We've had 6 over 2.5 goal matches in the last 7 for Espanyol. Both teams have scored in 6 of the last 7 matches as well. So it could be an interesting night. We've had both teams score in 4 of Sevilla's last 5 matches as well. So this could be one for goals. If you don't fancy a winner, both teams have scored in the last 4 at home. Sevilla haven't won in the last 5 away, but both teams have scored in the last 3 away. So working at the challenge table, you'll see where these two are early season, 15th against 13th. And where's that second goal for Sevilla against the top 14? Severely lacking that second goal. Even, arguably, against the top 16. No second goal. They've only come against the bottom 3. Early season bottom 3, mind you. So that could see Sevilla vulnerable if they score first. Where's that second goal? Well, we've got that second goal for Espanyol in the locker. So we could be favouring Espanyol today. The question mark around Sevilla is whether they can score that second goal. They've failed to do so against the top 16 all season. Could be vulnerable if scoring first. Okay? But then you've got to pay attention to the market, 2.4, and your conclusions thrown out the window because the market's telling you absolutely wide open. Still got the African Cup of Nations, but I would be ignoring friendlies now in favour of league football. The league football's far more readable. We've also got a number of other leagues, I would suspect, working our way down. Jupiler League, Beerschot, newly promoted, will have a target on their back. See whether they're going to be vulnerable away from home, a newly promoted side. You saw Como earlier on. We could, I suspect, see a good Torino win this evening at very good odds indeed. Odds on favourite at home, Slaven Bulupu at 5 o'clock. So do collect your odds on because you'll be on your own tonight. So use your techniques. These leagues known for over 2.5 goals. So you have a neutral position with those leagues rather than trusting the teams. Pompey and Sheffield Wednesday. An interesting match. Portsmouth struggling this season. We can, again, have a quick look at this one. A nice Friday luxury. Although the video is getting a little bit longer. So I better knock it on the head at 25 minutes. Portsmouth and Sheffield Wednesday. Again, going old school. You'll remember Portsmouth are newly promoted. Therefore, they could be vulnerable. Have they been vulnerable this season? Does their form look like the form of a newly promoted side? Indeed, it does, with just a single win all season. Struggles. Where's that second goal? Only 2. Well, only 3. And they've all come away from home. And in 2 cases, when they scored 2 goals, they didn't win. Sheffield Wednesday, just that single win against Coventry away from home. They played Luton, Millwall, Sunderland. Tough encounters away. This is arguably a dropping in quality of the opponent. They failed to score, though, in 3 of the last 4 Sheffield Wednesday, so they might be in a spot of bother if they can't fix that. So working our way down, challenge table as ever. Tell you where these two are in the league. 24th against 18th. And notably, Sheffield Wednesday have shown a real strength against the early season bottom 4. So that could signal struggles for Pompey today. Where's that second goal for Pompey? If they score first, they haven't scored a second goal at home this season. So Pompey could be gettable if leading tonight. Premier League 2, you'll have your over 2.5 goal glasses on. Professional Development League up to about 74% over 2.5 goals in that league. So you know what to do there. You don't need me holding your hand for that. There'll be a lot of other football. Likely we'll have the Dutch Eerste Divisie, which will be over 2.5 goals. Both teams to score accumulator. Odds-ons in the Bundesliga 2. Again, 67% over 2.5 goals this season. Plenty of football. Enjoy it this evening. I might turn up, but it's my day off. I do need to have a day off. I was up very, very late for you yesterday, providing you with a nice profit. Tomorrow, we've got a live stream. I hope you can attend. If you didn't attend last week, you missed out. First half goals, how about a 330 quid profit? Does that entice you to come to a live stream? This is not one I would pass on Telegram, but these odd gems I can dig out during a live stream. Have a great Friday. I'm off down the beach. See you later.